G'day battlers, and we are back for another Go Battle League thingamajiggy. This time we're talking about the Fantasy Cup Great League Edition, which isn't a cup that I've actually covered before, but we're going to dive into it today. It's a really simple one. It's in the Great League, and it's only got Dragon, Steel, and Fairy types, and it's going to be running from January 13th through to January 20th. So it's 1 week, but it is 4 times dust because it happens to be the same week as Master League. So they increase the dust for the weeks of Master League, and so for those that aren't playing Master League, you're still going to get 4 times dust from Fantasy Cup. So it's a worthwhile one to sort of get into if you haven't already. But yeah, with it being pretty simple, you can sort of already guess that, like, well, Steel beats Fairy, Fairy beats Dragon. Dragon doesn't really beat Steel, but you'll see how that sort of plays out. So let's bring the main graphic up on the thingamajiggy for the thumbnail. Maybe we should get Whalmer in it. We'll just... that'll do. We'll get something in there. But regardless, we have 3 main groups over on the graphic, and we have a couple of bonus picks over on this side as well. So let's focus over here first. So we have the group in the bottom left. We'll start with. We have the Fairy types. We've got Azumarill, and we have Tapu Fini. Moving along to the right hand side, we have the Steel types that are sort of there defeating the fairies for the most part. You can already sort of tell, like, Galarian Stunfisk, not exactly the biggest of fairy counters, but it's sort of in there anyway. But we also have Registeel, and we have Ferrothorn, or Ferrothorn, if you sort of watch the Play Pokemon official broadcasts. We then have in the top the sort of, it's kind of like the Steels and Dragons, but essentially it's a bit of an anti-Steel group. So we have things with counter, like Lucario, Escavalier, Haxorus is in here, and then we have like ground types like Excadrill and Flygon as well. And these guys are sort of all being able to put the hurt onto the Registeels and the Ferrothorns to sort of fight through and just take those things out and essentially bodyguard the fairies a little bit. But as you can expect, a lot of these guys are going to be losing to the fairy types as well. Now, this isn't sort of hard and fast. I've already pointed out, like, Galarian Stunfisk can definitely struggle a little bit, especially up against that Water Gun Tapu Fini. But then you've also got things like, if you land an Earthquake up against the Lucario, you're in a really, really strong spot. So this is very much just a simplified overview to give you a basic idea about the sort of ins and outs of how this meta is going to work. And this is already like a lot of the big meta picks, and so you can already start to figure out how this meta works. It's a very simple one again, but we do have some extra picks that are a little bit of a core breaking scenario as well. So starting at the very bottom, we have Turtonator, which is not a Pokemon I've got built, but it is a Pokemon that's sort of got some fire damage, and anything with fire, you can sort of imagine all of those Steels sort of struggling. So the Registeels and the Ferrothorns, but you're also going to be, annihilating the Escavaliers. So definitely sort of a Pokemon that could be pretty useful on that front. Although I should probably check that, okay, it's got Incinerate, it's got Dragon Pulse, and it's got Overheat. I've just got PV Poke over on that side of the screen as well. But, you've got sort of Incinerate's obviously a really scary move, and you're also doing really well against the other 2 that are down here. The second one being Alolan Sandslash. Alolan Sandslash bringing some ice damage. Doesn't do a whole lot, but it does obviously beat the Dragon types that are running around. And then by having access to Drill Run, you're going to be threatening the Steel types as well, like Registeel. And like Lucario, even though you're going to be taking double super effective damage from the counter, you do still have some counter play, and with a little bit of energy, you might be able to come ahead. You could run for Powder Snow or Shadow Claw, but it feels like if you're going to bring Alolan Sandslash in, it feels like Powder Snow is probably the way to go, because you are going to be seeing some Dragon types, so it just feels nice to have that ability to get super effective damage in. There isn't much you're getting super effective damage for with Shadow Claw, even though it is a really nice move. And then we have Skarmory down here as well. Skarmory, with its brand new sort of Steel Wing buff, it does sort of help to core break a little bit. It is still a flyer, so it does sort of lose to a lot of the sort of attacks from the ground, like Registeel. It's going to traditionally lose to, it's going to lose to some fire stuff as well, like Turtonator. It's not going to do that well. But again, it sort of just doesn't cleanly fit in, because you do have some things like Excadrill that are able to sort of, I guess Rock Slide doesn't do that much to you. But, there's a little bit of, it doesn't fit cleanly into one of the other groups, but it is going to be a really strong Pokemon that you probably are going to see a lot of, because it is so bulky, and because there isn't that much that is doing like big super effective damage to it. I think what it sort of comes down to a little bit is that Registeel is really just huge across the board, because it sort of has counterplay against a lot of the meta with Zap Cannon. I feel like, Focus Blast is probably still the way to go, just to hit all of the other Steels. I don't think you really want to go with Flash Cannon when, like, the 2 main fairies on here have the water typing as well. well. There are some other Pokemon that I haven't included here, like Mawile. Firefang Mawile is another really big core breaker that I probably should have put on here, to be honest. So just imagine it's down there. But, again, you're sort of breaking open all of those steel types. And you've got Power Punch as well, so you can sort of add that up even more, especially when you're up against that Ferrothorn matchup, which I think was a very popular matchup to try and fish out in previous Fantasy Cup iterations. But yeah, in a nutshell, this is sort of the meta simplified of the Fantasy Cup. Let me know what Pokemon I've missed, because there are things like Magnezone that could potentially cause a bit of a stir with some wild charge action. But yeah, let me know if I've missed anything in particular. But otherwise, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. Thank you to my small graphic. Because I realized that I accidentally was in a lower resolution than I probably should have been. So that's on me. But we figured it out now. I think this is it's still probably only in like 720, but it'll probably be 1080 next time. Maybe. I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to find out together after you subscribe and check out the next video. But yeah, until then, bye.